Hey, I'm Dr. Ashi, and I'm a psychologist. I did a recording where I reacted to Dr. K on Jubilee, talking to people who were depressed. And so I did a part one where I got through, I think, four people. And then I didn't have time, but I really wanted to do a part two, continuing with other people. And I found this really interesting and insightful. And I really like how Dr. K is showing how therapy can be effective because of his listening skills, his ability to reflect, his warmth and kindness. And so I found it to be helpful, and I'm going to react again. I'm going to start it where I stopped, and we'll just see how far I can get.
A little bit of background on me, I'm a Marine. After being in those conflicts, I only had a week on how to adjust to being a civilian again. So I felt like I was kind of like left behind.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on here. There's a really interesting book by Sebastian Junger, I think that's how you say his name, called Tribe. And he talks about how PTSD occurs in combat veterans. A big part of what's traumatic about coming home is being in a new environment and not being in a war zone, and not really, your nervous system is adapted to one environment, and then you come to another environment and you don't really quite understand your nervous system. Cognitively you understand that you're in a different place, but your nervous system still hasn't adapted to this world. And so sleeping in a closet, I don't want to generalize. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but it could be that his nervous system is trying to put him in a similar environment that he was used to. And being in, a comfortable king size bed with the AC going, it might feel so unfamiliar and odd that you actually try to find something that feels more familiar. Another big piece that Junger talks about in his book is basically losing the camaraderie and the social support and the community that you had while you were in the war zone. So you had fellow troops that were with you, you built friendships and brotherhood, and then you come home and assuming that you're not still connected to your friends, you're around a bunch of people that maybe have no idea what you just went through. And so this sense of isolation and feeling like the odd one out, a big part of it might be that it's not that the combat is inherently the problem. It's that we're not able to integrate back into society, normal society, in a way that helps our nervous system adapt. And we lose that community. We lose that purpose and that day-to-day tasks that we had, and that can be very hard.
When I got out, it feels like it's a starter package. I would talk to mental health specialists. They would hear the problem, and then it's like they put you in a category and be like, all right, here's your trazodone, here's your alazapine, here's your, go out the door, here you go.
Yeah, so you see, that's a very dehumanizing experience to go through, right? You go through this really intense, uh, ex- sorry, you go through this very intense experience. It's real, right? It's might be one of the realest things you've ever done in your life, and then you come back and you're trying to make meaning out of it. You're trying to understand, who am I now in this new world? You go to see somebody who is potentially never been in combat, doesn't understand the world you're coming from, and they basically say, okay, you have PTSD, take your medication, and you're good, right? It's dehumanizing, it puts you in a box. And I think that in itself, just the relational distance between you and the person that's prescribing the medication or giving you the treatment, I think that can be very marginalizing. Something that I think might be helpful here is the social aspect. Who is he spending time with on a day to day basis? Is he in connection with his fellow servicemen that he was in combat with? Does he have friends? Does he have family? Is he in a relationship? Does he have kids? Is he just isolated, right? That's going to play a really big role in his mental health.
I would ask you, is it medication? It's going to be group therapy. It's going to be constantly checking in. Like, I haven't seen anything different across the board, is what I'm trying to say.
Great. So good.
Yeah.
So now we have a different kind of problem,
Okay.
which is that you have learned that something won't work.
Yeah, so we go into the beliefs that people hold and how that can influence their perspective, right? So I think this is where Dr. K is going, right? That he comes in with this sense of, I tried everything. I tried the medication, I tried the groups, I tried the therapy, and nothing works. Now, this is hard to work with, right? If you're seeing someone in therapy who says, I've done all the things and nothing works, then the question becomes, okay, well, are you open to trying with me and seeing if we can get somewhere? And it might be, yeah, you know what, fuck it, I've tried all these things, I'll try one more. Or it could be, you know what, I don't think there's any way out. And so it's hard to work with that. Now, just because you go get on medication doesn't mean it's the right medication. And just because you go to a group doesn't mean that the therapist is the right therapist for you. So I think the key is to just continue trying. I'm curious to see what Dr. K is going to say here.
Absolutely, right? Lamar, I think the problem here is that the reason nothing is working is because I don't think anyone has really understood what you struggle with.
Now I'm doing interrogations throughout the night, and these interrogations ain't
Yeah.
But I'm also telling my command I'm tired.
It seems like the interrogations or something he didn't really want to go into, but it seemed to imply that there was something off about it. I'm not, maybe it was a disturbing experience for him, or he did things that he's still processing, or maybe he feels guilt about. I'm not sure, but if I was working with him, I'd want to understand more of that.
Tired. They're thinking physically. I'm talking mentally.
Yeah. So let me say this, Lamar.
Another thing is Dr. K says, I want to understand you. And so a lot of people I think would get squeamish talking to somebody who says, I did interrogations and I don't know the details about it. Let's just assume that there were aspects of it that were violent and intense. And a lot of people might get squeamish about that. And that can marginalize someone who wants to process the truth about what they lived through. And so in therapy, we would say, okay, when you're ready, if you're ready, tell me about it. Let's talk about it.
I think if you want any chance, you have to have someone understand you, right? And what you struggle with on a day-to-day basis.
I think that you can have people that have empathy, but to understand on that surface level, I don't think I've came across that.
I believe you, man.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, even though you
So here's the thing is he's probably experienced and seen things that, 90% of people, more than that, have never experienced something like that. Or, I mean, it's unique. I think a lot of people have gone through traumatic experiences or experienced violence in some way. It's not necessarily on the same level, but, I think what he's saying here is, right, you just don't get it. And this is why I think it's important. One of the things that's traumatic about coming home is that no one really gets it. And so can you build community with people that understand it, that have lived what you've lived, and that can help you feel less marginalized in the community? And so maybe that's what he's talking about. If I was working with him, I'd wonder, is there anyone else in your life that you see regularly or you talk to who actually does get it? Because you weren't there by yourself.
I'm shaking because, like I said, after hearing the same thing, it feels repetitive. It feels like I'm in a loop. Like, it just feels like a loop.
Well,
Yeah, I think it'd be frustrating because people with good intentions, therapists, stuff like that, they say the same things, and it just, when you're so disconnected, it just kind of becomes like, it's, you can say it, but it doesn't really stick. And so I'd wonder, I think I don't know for sure with this guy. I don't know everything. I'm not diagnosing, but it seems like he feels really alone, and he feels like people don't understand him, and he's tried and it still doesn't work. And so what I'm hearing a lot here is isolation. And that can start with being in therapy with a good therapist, but also writing it out, taking it time, let the relationship build, right? Having one session, 3 sessions, it's not going to be enough to build the relationship and the consistency. Therapy is an odd profession and it's an odd experience to go through, but with time, it can become something that really fulfills an important social need that we all have. And so maybe that could help with building more relationship in his life.
I don't know if we can fix you, man, but I certainly know that if you're alone, it's going to be way harder.
In my last video, just briefly, I say, it's not really about fixing someone. It's not about being broken. I know this is the language we use, and sometimes it feels the most accurate, but I think he's having a natural, healthy response to a situation in which the environment is not meeting a certain need. And the question becomes, how can we change the environment and your own thoughts and perspective here to start allowing your body to have a natural response, which starts to heal. And I think that might be for him getting into more community. You can be productive and successful by being deeply depressed. So I think that's true. I think it also is very difficult to do. right? So it's kind of like saying you can be productive and successful with a migraine. Yes, and it's also very difficult. Sometimes work functions as a way to cope with depression, and you can develop a kind of unhealthy workaholism because it's being driven by an underlying depression. So it's implied here that productive and successful is a good thing and you can get it. I think there's also ways in which our drive for productivity and success can be unhealthy. Of course, it depends on the situation. All right, I had some technical difficulties, but I'm back at it. It's been about a week or so since I last recorded, but I'm going to start off where I was.
All right, so I think my first problem is I see a bunch of women with red flags and I'm immediately attracted to them.
Okay.
The red flags.
Oh,
they don't
gotcha.
work. I want to say, like, everyone in this circle is a fucking hero. I think we can help each other better than your training because we have lived it and we know what it's like.
So he's starting off a little bit strong here with the joke that went over everyone's head. There's something about his presence that feels kind of, I don't know, it's almost tense. I get what he's saying about depression, that sometimes it's hard to be helped by people who you feel can't relate to you and your experience. And so coming together with community, with people that actually understand your experience, I think can help you feel more seen and heard. There is a little bit of a dig, though, at Dr. K, his profession, mental health professionals in general. I don't agree that you need to have experienced deep clinical depression to be able to help people with depression. I do understand that knowing that someone has gone through what you've gone through can help with, empathy and feeling connected, but it's not everything, and it's quite an assumption here in both directions, whether he'd actually be able to connect with people who have clinical depression or have had it, and that he wouldn't be able to be helped by someone who hasn't.
And found out she was cheating on me.
Okay.
I laid on the floor for 3 days and did not eat. I wanted to die. I've kind of wanted to die ever since that. 0 stars, would not recommend.
Okay.
I appreciate, anyone that's trying to help us, but I think we could help
He's
each
got
other
this kind of
better
dry
than
sense of
maybe a
humor
professional can.
that's not
Okay.
connecting for
So
some
it seems
reason.
like that's what you want to talk about, that y'all
Yeah.
can help each other
Right.
better than a professional
Right.
can. Sure. I mean, I think there's plenty of evidence that there are different kinds of help. Peer support is huge for helping people. And I think most of the studies
Yeah,
show
or just
that
social support in
both help
general,
in
very
different
important.
ways. But if you were to say that you can help everyone here around you in a way that maybe I can't, which is an interesting conjecture because you're assuming that I haven't struggled with depression. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think that's
So yeah, Dr. K got a little testy there, saying you're assuming I haven't experienced depression, which is true. It says something about this guy that when he sat down, rather than asking, have you had experiences with depression, which Dr. K could choose to answer or not, he did kind of come down there and there seemed to be this tension, these assumptions, this kind of distrust, and putting him down to some extent.
I need external validation, especially from women, to be happy.
Yeah, so he's talking about women. It'd be interesting to hear more about his childhood. He also talked about how I think a previous girlfriend cheated on him and that impacted him. It would impact, I think, most people getting cheated on, but it seems like there's a particular belief he has and experiences he has, particularly in regard to his attachment to women.
Like, my parents were very supportive, maybe.
were they supportive, or did you find that they were very conditional with their love or support?
I don't know if I would know the difference.
When your self-esteem becomes dependent on the approval of other people, generally, or it could be women, it might say something about how you grew up and how love was given to you as a child by your caregivers, is usually how we think about it. And so if you grow up where you get positive feedback only when you do things that are based off of conditions, then it becomes difficult to trust that you are a good person just for who you are. You're an inherently valuable person. Your sense of self-esteem comes from what other people say about you and what you do for others. And it's going to be interesting to see, this is where Dr. K, I think, is going, is where did he learn these beliefs? Where did he learn that his self-esteem has to be determined by the approval of women rather than just walking around knowing that he's a decent person generally, no matter what he does.
Oftentimes people who are like this believe that there's a choice between happiness and success.
When I was trying to be good at guitar when I was coming up, I sacrificed so much socialization just to sit in my room and twiddle my fingers on the instrument because I was like, I'm not where I need to be.
He has these beliefs, right? I must push myself really hard and sacrifice my own happiness in order to achieve success in whatever domain. And that he needs that success and the approval of other people to determine whether or not he's a good person. Now, the problem with that is that you're sacrificing other needs, social needs, particularly in this case of just being out in the world doing things. And another thing is we want to have a version of you that can be at home playing guitar by yourself and practicing all day and maybe not even seeing that many people, and a version of you that can put down the guitar and go and engage in other meaningful activities. It doesn't have to be socializing. Most people it would be socializing or some sort of connection with other people. And beneath all of that, you still have that motivation, but it's not driven by this person that feels I'm bad or this shame aspect, right? You can be motivated in life with the fuel not being I have to do this in order to get approval for being a good person.
So when you don't get that happiness from yourself, where do you think it has to come from?
Right, from other
it
people.
has to come from outside sources.
Yeah.
And in your case, which outside sources?
From women.
There we go. Right?
Yeah.
And so now you're kind of stuck because now
It's funny how his entire demeanor has changed because he feels like, one, he's connecting these dots that make sense to him, they're meaningful. He's just meeting him where he's at, and that's very helpful.
Right? So and you need abs, why?
So that women will like me.
Right? And then if women like you, then how do you feel?
Great.
Great.
It's just a hard society, you know. I got divorced and found out I was 5'7", and nobody likes that. So
Yep.
it's a hard one for you to.
Yeah, he's got like some serious body self-esteem issues, being 5'7", feeling like he has to compensate for that by getting abs. I'm sure there's a sad story here about why he feels so low and unattractive to women. And I think there's a world where he can, work out and care about what his physique looks like and make healthy decisions with his eating. And it still doesn't have to come from a place of this is to win the approval of others because there's something bad or unattractive or wrong with me. And seeing him smile and talk to Dr. K here is nice because it's almost like he's seeing there's this door where I can be myself and I don't have to be bad. That's where I would want to go in therapy, right? It's not that it's wrong to be in shape and all of these things. It's just that you don't need the fuel to be coming from a place of shame, like I said. And he's 5'7", he can't change that. There's women that are going to turn him down because of that, and I think that's okay, right? Can we live in a world in which we're not attractive to lots of people? I think so, because I think that's, at the end of the day, I think that's true for all of us, right? Most of us don't have flocks of people that are attracted to us. I think that's just the way it's supposed to be.
The need for validation from women. I think there's going to be a lot of guys who might be watching this video who feel that specific need. Could you hit that on more specifically?
Asking for a friend.
So we live in a society where validation from women, and this is what's really interesting, is amongst dudes is the way that we get respect. And I decided to be celibate. And then I was like, I'm done with women. I'm done. I'm going to just be celibate for the rest of my life. And it turns out that once I found peace with that, that's when I met my wife. It's really bizarre.
I'm not going to do that, but thank
sorry,
you.
We got to.
There's something to say about, right, when you stop caring so much and you don't let this take up so much bandwidth. I don't know if maybe there's research on this, but to some extent that might make you more attractive to people in general, but to women if you're a straight guy that's looking for that. Most people, I think, when they meet another person, they're more interested in who they are. And if who someone is please confirm to me that you think I'm attractive. that creates a condition on other people that I think can be unattractive. It doesn't seem as sincere, it doesn't seem as authentic a relationship, because now you're part of these terms that the other person's putting onto, that is trying to define their own self-esteem. And so it's creates distance, I think. I think when you just walk around the world, you know, most of us don't have abs. I definitely don't. But you're just treat people like they're another human being. You're engaged in life. Maybe you're doing something that you're passionate about, which could be anything. Then I think people will find you attractive. And it's not about sexual attraction either. It's just about, are people gravitating towards you? Yeah.
This sort of perfectionist mindset that I have for myself, and I feel like I can't get to a sense of success or self-acceptance because I feel like nothing I do is ever good enough for myself.
Yeah, this is true in anxiety too. When you set the bar for yourself that you have to be perfect, you're just going to always be let down by reality, because there really is no such thing as perfect. Maybe on some level you can get it perfect occasionally when you've really practiced and been imperfect for a long time. I'm thinking about like ballet or something, right? Where it's like, when you see the actual performance, it might come close to perfection. And at the same time, you don't just wake up the first day you try ballet and then that's what you do, right? It takes years and years of being imperfect, of learning, of struggling and failing.
I'll never be good enough, so why try kind of mentality.
Yeah, so that's even worse. So there's I'm never good enough, but I still try, and I'm just hard on myself every day. But then there's this, I need to be perfect, but because I'm so afraid that I'm not going to be perfect, then I'm just not going to try. I think that's worse, because then you're not even getting yourself out to do anything, and then you're just going to be in this slump for the rest of your life, thinking about the potentials and the ways in which you're not showing up in life the way that you'd like to, because you're just crippled by this fear. With people like this, we need to work towards more flexibility. It's okay to be messy. It's okay to make mistakes, to take risks. And the irony is that you find out that, a year later, you've improved in all these ways, and there still is no place in which you finally reach the destination. Life is imperfect, but we can still show up and improve. But if you're scared to make any mistakes, then that's going to leave you stuck.
Like, if I worked hard at something, it'll say, like, you worked hard at that, you deserve that.
Really? It'll say that?
Sometimes.
What else does it say? Does it say you got lucky?
There is some research here that shows that there's differences between men and women in how they attribute their achievements. And so on average, when women achieve something or they do something well, they tend to attribute it to luck rather than skill, whereas men tend to attribute it to skill. And it's also been found that this is something that's socialized, that we're actually taught this too, that we get different feedback as boys and girls about, boys might say, oh, wow, you worked really hard, like you're so talented or something like that. Whereas little girls get different types of feedback, like, oh, you're so helpful and stuff like that. And so even the way that we think about ourselves and our achievements is something that is embedded into us from an early age. And there's these gender differences, which can obviously impact your self-esteem depending on how you internalize that.
So I'm someone who also feels like no matter how much I accomplish, the bar is always raising, as if like if I get into the law school I want, the next thing is like, I have to pass the bar.
Part of this might be a cultural thing, right? When you're raised in a family, you're never enough. You could always do better. You get an A, why not an A plus? Well, you got an A, you need to keep getting A's, right? That's this constant treadmill of just you can never take a break. You've always got to go, 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 go. Helpful to some extent, but can really just make you feel terrible because you never get that rest. You never get to just sit and, smell the flowers and appreciate the wind, right? Or whatever. And so we'll see what she says here about this.
Or get a job, and it just keeps going.
And by the way, this is my personal belief. It's my opinion. I understand that it's important to work hard. I also think that we're going to die. Like we're all going to die. It's a fact. And so we can work hard and we can still be intentional about understanding that, one, we're never going to be perfect. The finish line is death. And we can work hard, and we can also take time to appreciate the good things in life. And when people get caught in this battle to just go, 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 you're never enough, it's sad, because one day you're going to wake up and it's going to all be over.
The better you are, the more people like you, in the sense of like,
She speaks very fast. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It just might be part of her personality and how she's wired. And I could see that also if she's kind of has a personality where you're kind of running on an engine a little bit. It can be hard to slow down and be mindful, and maybe she could benefit from meditation. Dr. K might go there, because I think she might have a combination of these beliefs and then also a disposition in her personality that makes it difficult for her to just kind of slow down and take it all in.
I was always in the honors programs, getting first place in sports and everything, and it just kept getting reinforced because I think society rewards productivity and success more than just mental well-being or soft skills.
Do you want this to change?
I'm not sure, actually.
There we go.
Yeah, see, that's a good point, right? There's something deeply embedded into her. Maybe part of it's her personality, where she's so driven. It's interesting because she hasn't said anything about her depression. She has a kind of high energy, which you don't see necessarily with depression. I think it could be a defense against depression. So what I mean by that is people that are very, very high energy, and sometimes we conceptualize like a manic episode as being a defense against depression, right? Rather than feel depressed, I'm going to just push myself in the other direction.
The busier I am, the less I have to think about my feelings and my thoughts. And
Great. Okay, good. So the busier you are, the less you think.
Yeah.
When you sit still and you don't have any tasks to do, you're just in the space of being. That's often when these feelings come up, which might be sadness or loneliness or thinking about death and about the meaning of life. And maybe we miss people or we regret things, or we that space is something that gets filled with other emotions that we want to avoid. And then so we create tasks and goals to avoid them. I think something that can be helpful is to actually give yourself time to really just allow those feelings to come up, to see where they take you, to let yourself feel. And it's a lot easier said than done. This is why we don't do it very often. But that can often tell us something about what's on a deeper level, what we're feeling, or something in our life that can be important and that we're avoiding. And I don't know what it can be. It's going to be different things for many people. It might be loneliness. It might be regret about something in the past. But as long as that's there, it's not going to go anywhere. If we're able to go to that space, it might actually help us figure out ways to resolve some issue or conflict that we're avoiding, or just feel emotions. And some people, you might cry. You might have to cry and get it out and connect to it. And then don't worry, the tasks aren't going anywhere. You might be able to go on with your life, still be motivated, and not feel that constant need to detach yourself from your feelings by productivity. I wonder what happens to her when she really, really slows down. She says, feel her feelings. Well, what are those feelings? What happened? There's something that is wanting to come out and you're avoiding it.
Yeah.
Lots of tattoos.
Mylene. Nice to meet you, Mylene.
Nice to meet you. Yes, I do believe that you can be productive and successful. And the reason that I say that is because I've dealt with suicidal ideation for the majority of my life, for as long as I could remember.
Interested in the flag, or not the flag, the American eagle. Is that what it's called? American eagle? I don't know what I'm saying.
Bad episode. I could not get up out of my bed. I refused to do anything for myself.
I see the tattoo and I just think of America, patriotism.
I lost the ability to be confident in myself, but the one thing that I was able to do was take my dog out for a walk.
I think she's holding back a lot of emotions here. There's a lot of sadness. I get the sense of really want to understand her childhood, her early experiences when this formed. This seems to be a heavy sadness here.
Going through, I'm not going to abandon my dog. I'm not going to abandon my partner. And I think that's a success.
For many people with depression, it's like, look, you went out and you went on a walk with your dog, right? That is a success for today. And that seems to be what she's talking about, which I completely agree with. Sometimes it's just a matter of, can I get myself out of bed? So yeah, she's pushing back against this depression in what appears to be a I think meaningful way.
I grew up in a religious household where they believed that depression wasn't a thing. They tell me to pray, and I have nothing against religion, but I also wanted to feel seen.
So the feelings are there. You say, go pray on it, or unfortunately with some caregivers, they themselves are so uncomfortable with addressing their own feelings that they can't meet you with your feelings, and then this creates, it's like having like a hot coal inside of your body or something that you can't get out, and then that pain can lead to suicidality because you don't know any other way to get relief. How do you deal with these feelings? You can't talk about it, you can't share it. And so some people, they go, I just want to escape the pain. And this is again why therapy can be helpful, because a lot of people sadly weren't given space in their family of origin to share authentically who they are. And there's people say, well, why is talking important? Well, it's not just talking, it actually changes it changes your mind. Like your mind, it activates different parts of your brain when you start to share something socially with another person. By communicating about it, you're able to come to a better understanding of your emotions. It creates mindfulness. And then there's the social piece of sharing it with another person, which is essential to being a human being. This is why we speak. I don't think we would have evolved language if it wasn't important for us to share. And so it would be good to have a relationship with a therapist where she can share these parts of her that she's been suppressing.
In like my chest and my heart, and it weighs heavy. And you have to put on this mask and just continue.
Yeah, and so she's saying it, right? What does it mean? What is it? In this mask, right? There's this persona that she puts out in the world, and then there's it, which is hidden. And so therapy says, okay, well, let's slowly, depending on the person. Some people, they come in and they start just sharing everything. You don't have to, but addressing those it's that we all have.
Half of what I really struggle with as a psychiatrist is helping people unlearn the things that helped them survive.
So the term is we have these maladaptive coping mechanisms. So these are things that helped us survive, right? At one point they helped us, but they're maladaptive in that they might do us harm, or they might not be healthy in the long term, or they might not be suitable to the environment we're in now. And so through therapy, we understand where they came from, and then we start to create new ways of coping and understanding our emotions that's going to be healthier, put us in less danger, right? There's a spectrum here. Some people, they go out and they get in bar fights, and that's obviously as a way to cope with anger, and that's dangerous, right? You can get killed doing that. Some people, they eat ice cream, right? Not as dangerous as going out and getting in a bar fight. We're just trying to find things that are on a spectrum of healthier ways of metabolizing your emotions and behaving in the world.
And then those adaptations sometimes become maladaptive later on.
Yeah.
But then the problem is you can't just take those away.
I don't have time to watch the rest of the video because I'm at work again. I have things to do. But yeah, it was really, really interesting stuff. I think ultimately, I think Dr. K is a great advocate for therapy, for mental health. And I really encourage anyone who's interested in these videos and who has seen Dr. K do this effectively to consider going to therapy. If you get a good therapist, that's what they're going to be doing, is helping you to really understand yourself. And it can, obviously I'm biased because I'm a psychologist, but I've seen it help people in my own career in ways that are very powerful. And so props to Dr. K, props to these people for going on the show. And yeah, I'm gonna be reacting to other stuff too that I find interesting. So all right, see ya.